What's up? Another episode of installing stuff with Killer Toy Tops. This is the install video for both the Blazers and the Broncos. There is very minor differences between the two. The Bronco frames and the Blazer frames are a little bit different, but everything else is gonna be the same. If you have a Bronco, you're gonna end up with a frame like this. This one is completely put together. It's already pre-assembled for you, and it just simply bolts on. So it will bolt on, if the vehicle's facing this way, it will bolt on this direction with these tabs at the rear of the frame, and it just simply bolts in using your factory bolts. It's ready to go. You just bolt it on, and you're good to go. These are gonna be a little bit shorter on the Blazer. On the Bronco, it'll have more of a reclined angle. On the Blazer, it will be sitting up a little bit more. So we made them a little bit shorter to make that work with this whole style. When you get the kit, what you're gonna get is pretty much everything you need except for a few nuts and bolts from your factory setup. A lot of the hardware that comes off of these from the factory is a little bit rusty, so I'm just gonna go ahead and replace that with some newer ones. This is grade 8. For the Broncos, your frame's already gonna be put together, so that's what we're gonna start with on the Blazers. If you have a Bronco, you can go ahead and skip past the frame assembly part, but with the Blazers, let me show you how this works. You're gonna get powder coated brackets. We call these angle brackets. And then your frame, this is the main part of the frame. And all you gotta do is just put them together. Now these actually have slots in them. And that slot can be used to fine tune your location of your frame. This is the way it's gonna go on. So the hole is on one side. This is incorrect. So it should not be flush like this. This is gonna be in the middle right here. So it looks like that when you're done. These are already countersunk. So you're gonna get 4 of these guys. These are a 1/4 20 wedge head. They fit really flush and flat, and they just go in there like that. You grab a nut. And at this point, we're just gonna put it on like this and leave it a little bit loose so we can wiggle it around and get it exactly where we want it to be before we tighten it up. And then once it's on the truck, you get everything adjusted, you get the frame centered where you like it, and then you go ahead and tighten these up. It's that simple. Other than that, as far as the 4Runner is concerned, all the install is exactly the same. So that's the new frame design that allows us to send out really nice laser cut powder coated frames to you guys. So our frame is put together. We've got our brackets on it. They should still be a little bit mobile. You're gonna get 4 straps. These straps hold everything together and they hold it tight. We're gonna be updating these soon. We're trying out a few different designs for longevity, but currently we are shipping out these straps. So if you have a strap that looks different than this, check for an update video on how to assemble those straps. You're gonna have a set of hinges. They are different sized fasteners for Fords and Chevys. They use different, and the Fords throughout the years use different bolts as well. So we drill out one side for you. If you need to drill out the other side, just a little bit to make some of the smaller ones, if this is too big, you can use the other side. So we purposely leave only one side drilled out and we leave one side factory. So these are stainless, so you shouldn't have any issues with these. They're a quick release style, which is really nice. They can be a bit tricky with one person your first time figuring these out, but once you get used to it, these are actually pretty awesome. You've got the anchors, and we'll go over installing those. We've got our hoop, which is your 2 vertical legs and your main hoop, and then some additional hardware. So let's go over hoop install. Hoop install is really pretty straightforward. You just take one end, the other end, and you put it together. Sometimes you got to show it who's boss. Twist it back and forth. We, in the past, have reamed these out, so they've been fairly loose, but you want a good solid fit. So, all right, next thing, let's install our hinges. We're gonna take 2 on the Chevys. This is a 5/16 course bolt, and we're simply just gonna pop these in here. All right, hinges are in. That was easy. On the hoop, one of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna install these 2 little screws. There's 4 that come in the kit, but you only need 2. They are kind of small, they're easy to lose. And what I like to do is just kind of pre-drill that with a drill bit that's a little bit smaller than the screw is. And they're not very long, so you don't need to go in super deep. It just helps keep everything straight. You can take the Phillips screws that come with this together. All right, once you have the hoop together and once your hinges are on, we just go ahead and put it together. Super simple. This does help if you have a second person, but it can definitely be done with just one person. All right, so mine's fit in the spare tire, but this does lay all the way down. This is what it's gonna look like. Basically checking for fitment, making sure everything looks good. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna install the front frame, get it adjusted, and then we'll actually put the bikini top on. So the hinges could stay on. If you didn't want to put your top back on, you didn't want it on the bikini top, the hinges can stay on and they're disconnect, so they come off pretty quickly. This can stay on, doesn't really impact a whole lot, and it's super minimal, so it's not super noticeable if you're not running the bikini top, you're running it without it for whatever reason. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this on right up here. You look up here, we've got this rubber gasket. We just pull that back a little bit and get down underneath it, behind it like that. Makes it a little bit easier. It also makes it easier if you can get it out of the way to start the bolt. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm just gonna start all the bolts. And then once we get all 4 bolts started, we'll go through and tighten them down. All right, so Bronco guys, your frame will go on like this. And these are almost identical frames. The bracketry is just a little bit different. So for the Ford Bronco, they're gonna sit like this. This bolts in. They're a little bit more funky right here, so that's why we have to have a much bigger bracket. And there's a little bit more deflection on the ends than these ones. So that's why we like having the additional straps on the front. If you got a Bronco, this is the same exact method of install. We're just gonna have this frame on the front, and that's it. If we wanted to move it over, left, or right a little bit, there's a little bit of tolerance. And then you can also pick it up if you want it to be more flush with the roof, or if you want it to sit down below it a little bit. Total preference right there. I'm gonna go down underneath it about 1/4 of an inch because that's about how thick our bikini tops are. Just work my way from the center out, making sure that everything looks good. Sometimes when these are shipped, they end up getting bent out of shape a little bit. It's aluminum. The powder coating is extremely durable. We have it 2-stage powder coated, so it's primed and powder coated. And you can manipulate this a little bit with just a little bit of elbow grease to get that perfect curve if that's what you're looking for. So if you want it to look just absolutely mint coming around here, just manipulate it a little bit by hand, kind of get the desired curve that you want. A 7/16 or an 11mm wrench, and just go ahead and tighten these up. They don't have to be crazy tight. It's just an Allen here. And we've got a countersunk bolt with a lock nut, so it ends up being pretty good. So the next step now is to put our anchors on, which is pretty simple. I'll show you how. In your kit, you're gonna have 4 anchors like this, and you can use whichever side you like. You can use the big side or the little side. Typically, I run the bolt through the small side. That's the way I do it. So you're gonna put one in each of the very far back holes, and then you're also gonna put one up on the cab right here. And this is the same for the Broncos and for the Blazers. They're both the same. All right, once again, I'm just gonna start everything, and I'm gonna go back around and tighten it all up. Our hoops are not powder coated, they do ship raw. So if you wanted to spray paint those, you want to paint them up or take them somewhere, have them powder coated, you could definitely do that. So in the back here, there's these 2 little hoops. and they're sewn in. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna thread the hoop through these 2 loops. And sometimes they go on pretty easy. Sometimes you gotta take your time with it. But I've found a little pro tip is that the screws, if you send them through on the seam side, just tends to go a little bit easier. So, okay, this guy is ready to go on. So that's on there. We're gonna flip this around. So this is hanging like this. We've got our bar here. This is the front, this is the back. And we're just gonna go ahead and reinstall this hoop. We test fit it already, so we know it's good to go. Put our hoops on. We're gonna flip this over the top. And I am just going to Velcro up one side. This does go a lot smoother if you have 2 people. But I'm gonna keep that one side up there. And I got a bit of a bubble. All right, on the inside. Perfect. Hey, look at that. It's starting to take shape. Now we are going to install our straps. So this is super easy. If you've never done this before, similar to what you have on a backpack. And this is called a ladder, and it's got a couple of different slots. One that we use to sew them on. This is the one where you're gonna go in, and then this is the one where you're gonna go out. So you come in from the back side, and then you just go right back out the next slot. Like so. That clips on, and voila, there you go. I'm gonna leave this a little bit loose enough that it doesn't fall forward, and we're gonna put our other straps in. We've got it on, everything looks really good. Now, there might be a couple of wrinkles in the middle, and you can mediate that. You can pull here. You can actually kind of work it a little bit, pulling that off, pulling it a little tighter one way or another, and you can finesse most of the wrinkles out of it. There are some that are in there from shipping or from storage, a good day in the hot sun, and those should smooth out pretty well. If not, you can iron or a steamer and clean them up pretty well. So the straps that go on the front, in the middle, and come down through the smaller one on the end. And like that. Now, these are the same length straps because we just make one size of strap. So if you wanted to get this basically where you like it and trim this shorter, totally doable. Some people don't like these flopping in the wind. We have some triple ladle bars that are sent out. Those do mitigate that a little bit. They're really a pain to install though. Or you can get a safety pin and just pin that down, or there's a couple different options for you there. We've had customers show us all sorts of crazy solutions over the years. So you can pull that down and trim this up, secure that how you want on the front. Same thing on the back, these are a little bit long. On the Broncos, that's a little bit further of a distance, so these won't be quite as big of a tail on there. But either way, you can get these up, you can trim them. If you do cut them, make sure that you just use a lighter and seal the ends so they don't fray. These are made from a waterproof canvas. Water does definitely get in around the sides. It's not perfect. It's not a full top. It's a bikini top. It's meant for sun. These have a 99% sun rating on them, so they do a really good job at reducing the amount of sun that gets through. Other than that, go take your kids out for some ice cream when you're done. That's the last step. If you don't have any kids, go pick up a cutie on the street. Go pick them up, go take them out for ice cream. It's required. It's not finished install until you go out and get ice cream in it. So, there you go. It's Killer Toy Tops Ford Bronco and Chevy Blazer install video. If you have any questions, you know what to do. That looks pretty good right there, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, see you guys in the next one.